Hey folks, welcome to a Canadian moment. And I'm me, a Canadian, here to talk to you about Canadian stuff. Or, well, not Canadian stuff, I talk about the world. If you see my older videos, you know, I talk about a lot of stuff actually. And not always politics. This video and the other video I made today, which I meant to make yesterday, but I got really busy with some friends and stuff helping them out. But this video and the other one I made are both politically orientated, but it's Canadian politics that I think people need to be aware of in Canada, because I think Canadians are being used and messed with, and I don't like it. Basically, I'm just making a string of videos to try to debunk things from where I'm sitting. You know, and I say that where I'm sitting because I fully recognize I'm not right all the time. I have some good points. It seems like I'm pretty good at being right a lot of the times, but I've made my mistakes, and the most important thing is I've learned from those mistakes because they were pointed out to me. So the reason why I make that disclaimer is not so that you guys don't meanly point things out to me. You can point it out however you want. If you're a jerk, I'll call you out on it. And if you're not, then we'll just have a conversation. The reason why I say that is so you understand you can point things out to me. I'm not going to bite your head off for it, especially if you do things in a kind way, in a fair way. I will appreciate it because it'll help you grow and learn and become a better person as an individual. Not better at what I do. You know, this isn't what I do. I'm just doing it. Big difference between what you do and what you're doing. What I do is I concrete, you know, and I'm not doing a lot of it today. What I'm doing is trying to talk to people from my country, and I'm doing a lot of it these days because I have a lot of time to do it. You know, like with how bad the economy's been, with how bad work's been, I have time on my hands. I look for work. I go do my concreting when I get a job, and then I watch videos on what's going on in my country, and I make videos to talk about what I've seen. And sometimes I'll link those videos, like this one particular I'm going to link. It's a discussion with Maxime Bernier, which is a third-party conservative running for prime minister. I think 2019, maybe 2020. I think it's 2019 we're going to be voting on. And it's important to me to talk about Maxime Bernier, not only because I think he is an important conservative figurehead for people to be voting upon. I would vote on him over Andrew Scheer. What makes me nervous is the fact that he's splitting the vote in Canada. It's something to be really nervous about. It's something certainly to think about. But I would still vote for him because I don't think a lot of people are voting for Trudeau. So I think even if I were to vote for Maxime Bernier, I'm still doing pretty good. Because the worst thing that happens, in my opinion, is I get Scheer. Andrew Scheer, to me, we'll go over that another time. We're going over Maxime Bernier's interview with CBC, our Canadian Broadcasting. I don't know what the C stands for. Canadian Broadcasting Canadians. I don't know. The C stands for something. But basically, one thing to note is Trudeau owns a large portion of the CBC, which is all of our news comes from the CBC. All our main media news comes from CBC, right? It's our main media news network. And Justin Trudeau owns most of it. So it's a liberal news network is what it is. And we don't have very many news networks. So in Canada, we got liberal news. That's it. And so Maxime Bernier is getting some face time because he's if he wasn't as big as he is, if he wasn't huge, then he wouldn't get any time on CBC. They'd just trash him, make videos about him that embarrasses him, and then send him on his way. But he is big enough, and they're legally obligated to give him this time, and they can't shove him underneath the carpet like they did Faith Goldie. I saw it. They flat out swept her underneath the carpet. They didn't give her the opportunity she deserved, and that's not right. And it's because she wasn't big enough to make a big enough stink, so they didn't care. But Maxime Bernier is, so they're talking to him. And the CBC network, like I wrote down here, shilling for Dems, because they really are shilling for the Liberal Party. Dems, Democrats, that's an American thing, but they're shilling for the Liberal Party. They're owned by liberals, as I pointed out with their funding from Justin Trudeau. But they bring up the fact that Maxime Bernier doesn't support the UN Migration Act. They're trying to really bag on him for that, right? Because the UN Migration Act is the be-all and end-all. It's going to save global warming and everything. It's a load of crap. What it really does is it creates a workaround for immigrants to migrate to your country illegally and then become a part of your country's infrastructure. Politics, become a part of their politics, become a part of their educational system, become a part of their healthcare, everything. Everything I get as a Canadian in my country, if you come in here as a legal immigrant, the idea is you get it too. Because that's only fair. And so they open this by bagging on Maxime Bernier for giving the Trudeaus a hard time for supporting World Parliament, which is true. the Trudeaus have supported World Parliament for a long time now. Maxime Bernier pointed out that in 2010, Trudeau voiced that support, and is still voicing that support today. So they were asking, do you believe that Trudeau supports World Parliament? He says, yes, of course I believe in this. They said this in 2010. They say it now. And they start bagging on him for it. Are you sure? Like, does he? Because they start asking, they ask that question like 4 or 5 times in roundabout ways. Are you really, really, really sure? And they know the truth. They know the answer. It's yes. They know that's the truth, but they don't want him to say it. And they're not going to just flat out say that's a lie, because that would make them culpable. They could still say, oh, I didn't know, even though they do know. And then you could tell they know, because the next thing they talk about, because after Maxime Bernier stands by his gun and says, yes, he is supporting World Parliament. They're trying to get him to talk about the UN Migration Act without bringing it up themselves. Because if they bring it up themselves, then it shows that they know everything about what Trudeau's doing. They can't make Maxime Bernier say something stupid about what Trudeau's doing, which is wrong what Trudeau's doing. He should say something against it. But if he says something directly against it, they can turn that in the interview to make him look out to be a demon, a disgusting human being. And he's really good at politics. This is why I support this guy. He's so damned good at politics. He's seeing right through their crap as they're trying to pull it. And he's not falling for it. So he won't answer the question the way they want him. They won't say anything about the UN Migration Act. So they come in with, brings up the UN Migration Act, and then discounts it. So they say to him, are you saying this because he signed into the UN Migration Act? And he says, yes, Trudeau signed on to the UN Migration Act. This shows that he's into World Parliament. And then they said, well, the UN Migration Act, you know, is not law. That's their excuse for the UN Migration Act. If the United Nations ever thinks that they are allowed to make laws in Canada, Canada has some serious problems. That's why this is shill journalism. No country outside of Canada tells Canada what it can or cannot do. It should not, it will not, it cannot. If one day it does happen, then it's time to say goodbye to Canada. I hope that day doesn't come. I like my country the way it is, you know? I really do. But it was a silly point that interview was making, and she was making the silly point in order to try to make Maxime Bernier out to be a liar. And it didn't work, in my opinion, because, well, again, he said, I know this is not law. I know these are not legal things that were legally binding, but this is the direction we want. Trudeau doing this proves that Trudeau wants this, and he's not wrong. Trudeau did this he did this behind Canadian backs, too, just to make the crime more culpable. He didn't want us to know about it, because he knew how we'd feel. He knew damn well we'd fight against it, as we should. So then she starts bringing out the kind of people that support Maxime Bernier. Now, Maxime Bernier doesn't take just anybody, you know? Again, very smart politician. He doesn't want to be tied to people who create too much of a bad name for themselves, right? And I don't mean bad name as in they're getting out there and being too conservative. Because right now he's trying to deflect from somebody being too conservative. And I hope he still sticks by her. It sounds like in this interview, he went along with what the interview was saying. He said that because the interview starts bringing up Tyler Thompson, which is somebody who is fighting against the Premier of BC. It's basically the woman who's in charge of BC is creating a lot of social laws. You know, she's saying that that it's necessary for people for children in schools to be learning about their sexuality and their sexual identification. And LGBTQ is becoming really big in BC. You know, you're getting a lot of, they're all hipsters and liberals out there, dude. So they're really way farther ahead of us rednecks out here in Alberta. You know, we're very stupid to them, very behind the times as far as they're concerned. And this kind of rhetoric is really good for sheep to follow behind. I don't like it. It's really great at getting the people who don't want to think for themselves to back really dumb ideas. And nobody knows what's going on, by the way. In Alberta, when I talk to people, Ontario seems to know a lot more about their politics than Alberta does. Alberta just says Ontario sucks and the people are using us. In Ontario, they're like, man, you should see what BC is doing. Like, it's so effed up. And they're right, because BC is teaching children that they're not boys or girls, that they're it's. And those children need to figure out what it is before they get to high school. And I don't think any child should have to have that conversation at all. I think that's abuse. In my opinion, that is abuse. In my personal, professional, overgiven opinion, that's abuse. And I'm standing by that opinion too. Just FYI. So this woman brings up Tyler Thompson, and she brings up that Tyler Thompson has been speaking out against the LGBTQ, pushing values on children in BC. She says this is bad, LGBTQ pushing their LGBTQ values in elementary schools, as I was just broken down. She tries to shoehorn Maxime Bernier into this policy, right? She's saying, do you agree with this? Do you back this? Are you acceptable of this? Are you going to tell her to stop speaking like this because you're very strong about who speaks in certain ways in your cabinet? And if you don't support this, why are you allowing her to be a part of it? And he keeps on saying, at the federal level, we should not be telling people about their sexuality. He doesn't say it in those words, but he says the federal level bit a lot. This is not a federal issue. This is not something that should be taken up on a federal level. He's absolutely right. The law, the government, should not be telling you what your child has between their legs. Ever! Ever! The government doesn't tell anybody about their child's sexuality. That's wrong. And so he's basically saying, I'm here representing on a federal level. She believes what she wants to believe. She is running on something that she feels is important. I understand where she's coming from. I'm not getting involved personally because it's none of my damned business. I'm trying to be a prime minister. Whoa. Whoa. Is that not politics the way it should be? Politics stays in politics. It stays out of schools. It stays out of entertainment. It stays in politics. This is what we want. If you want to know about your politics, you should have to go and find it. It should not be forced in your face every single day, day after day. Why do most Canadians hate Donald Trump? He's not our president. Why? Because we're told to. And because people are sheep. If you're an American listening to this, nodding your head, yes, you guys are Canadian, are. Guess what? Half your country voted for Hillary Clinton. Wow, guys. Wow. Hillary Clinton. No offense, guys. I know you're probably like, oh, look, an always Trumper. I'm not going to call you a never Trumper. I'm not an always Trumper. I'm just a never Clintoner. That's what I am, a never Clintoner. Not because they never should have been in charge of your country, but because they have been in charge of your country and they've shown their colors. So before I might have been like, sure, give them a shot. Now that I've seen what they can do based off their resume, I would say never again. Same with Trudeau's. Never again. You guys have shown you don't care about the country. You're not good at politics. You're never doing this job again. I'm never bad leadership. That's what I am. Never bad leadership. That's why I like Donald Trump being voted into your country, is because so far, who should take the fucking mantle? Who should be voted in? Excuse my language, I apologize. But who should be voted in? I don't see anybody else except for Trump at the moment. Honestly. But that's my opinion. And the only reason why I have that opinion is because the media keeps on forcing in my face that Trump and American politics are a big deal. That's why I have such a strong opinion. That's why most Canadians have a strong opinion. And Americans, if you're watching this, your media did that. Your media did that. This is on you. Sorry, on you. I don't want your politics in my country. So if you guys can handle your BS, that'd be great. If not, I understand. I completely understand. Because at the moment, we're not doing a very good job here ourselves. There's some really rich people who want us to tell all the world that we suck. And I'm not going to tell the world that. I'm not going to tell the world that you suck in America. I'm not going to tell the world that we suck in Canada. If they want to make us look like we're crap, they're going to have to do it themselves. I'm not giving them the ammo myself. But yeah, Maxime Bernier, he basically said, he wrapped it all up saying, I am not running on any social issues, which is super smart. And saying the social justice warriors aren't getting any ammo out of me because I don't care about their problems, which is what he should do. This is what all politicians, you should watch what he just said there and take a huge page out of that book. It's super smart. He made it very clear, I don't care what's between your legs, it's none of my business. And And then they try to tie Thompson to homophobic remarks. This is really nice. She's saying that we should be teaching kids in schools LGBTQ values. That's all she's standing on. She's not saying gay people shouldn't exist. She's not saying that we should outlaw homosexuality. She's not saying that gay people shouldn't get married. None of that. She's not saying gay people shouldn't buy wedding cakes. She's saying don't teach kids to be gay. What's wrong with that? Did I miss something? Seems like a pretty good thing to stand by it. But according to our news, we label her as homophobic. And those are her remarks, are homophobic. And she shouldn't be wrong. The whole idea of this interview, bringing her up, was to say to Maxime Bernier, do you really think this woman should be allowed to speak? The answer is yes. Yes, they all should. Everybody in Canada should get on a soapbox just like me. A rickety old soapbox, that's the best you can find, and speak. Speak your mind, speak your heart, speak it all. Tell the world, damn it. Because there's stuff going on and they're trying to hide it. Don't let them. But Maxime refuses to be labeled as a socialist. He refuses to run his platform under socialism. He refuses to be the exact opposite and be, I don't know what they call it, just homophobic, I guess. I guess they just revert to Nazis and homophobic. There's no special, they make up words for gay people. You know, words. I don't know why I had that. I sat up while I said that and I got a sore throat. So maybe that just caused all the air to, get squelched into my belly. Words! It came out sounding like I was so part of the program. I have nothing against the program, but I'm not part of the program. I'm afraid. I'm just me. I'm a regular guy, kind of, maybe. Oh, no, I don't have any kids. I'm 34 years old, no kids. So I guess I'm not that regular. But I don't care about gay people, either way. If they're being hurt and attacked, like I care about gay people in Pakistan. Because in Pakistan, they're killing gay people. I care about them. Those people have a serious problem they're dealing with. I back you, gay people. Good luck. And I'm very happy that the Christians in Pakistan are trying to hide the gay people in their churches. That's very nice of them to extend that olive branch and say, you might not be something that we believe in, but you're still something. And we believe that something matters. We believe you have a spirit in you that belongs in God's arms, and we're going to make sure that you have the safety that you deserve. Just don't have sex in our church. I'm not trying to sneak that a little bit. I'll say it again. They don't want gay people to have sex in their church. But that's a problem. Maybe you should go to church and talk about it. But I think it's very fair. If we're going to give you asylum, don't have sex in our church. And they wrapped up their interview. It was really interesting how they wrapped up their interview. Because they pointed out that Maxime Bernier wants to stop free trade in China. Meaning that he wants to tariff Chinese goods in Canada. The reason everybody's probably like, I mean, who cares? Canada has been outsourcing all of its jobs. All of them. I understand what I'm suggesting is making things a little bit more expensive in Canada. What I'm also suggesting is creating jobs in Canada. I don't want him to start tariffing goods coming from China before creating jobs in Canada. You know? I think the GPU in Canada needs to go up a lot before we start talking about tariffing regular goods, you know? I don't know, if you want to tariff special programs out of certain countries, things that are, if you want to tariff specialized goods that generally cost a lot of money to get here anyway, but are made a little bit cheaper for rich people to get, all those rich people should spend a little bit extra money. I think that's actually a good place to tariff, actually, in my opinion. The stuff that rich people are trying to get a little bit cheaper, not the stuff that poor people are trying to get by with. They keep dropping me money, I don't want them to. Keep your money, damn it. I'm not like Justin Trudeau, I'm not trying to take all your taxes. So, I do think that it's good that Maxime Bernier is starting to stand up for Canada, and let China deal with its own problems, because we are too involved. Like, this is the problem. If people don't know, we have too much going on in China. We have people sitting on the Chinese council. It costs us $1.5 million a year to have a person sit on the Chinese council to learn how to govern the people in better ways. Like the best ways to govern the people. We have somebody sitting on the council in China, and we're learning how to do that. Now, I'm not going to beg the Chinese government a hell of a lot, but I do feel like it's necessary to point out that they are a dictatorship. I don't know if everybody realizes that's a dictatorship. It is. And they do use the internet to find out what people are socially interested in. And if people aren't socially interested in what they believe they should be interested in, well, guess what? The government gets involved. This is what we're learning when we put people on the council, by the way. We spend Canadian taxes to get people to learn how to manipulate regular people. Our government's learning how to manipulate us and to force us into positions that we don't want to be forced into. That's the whole point. So that is something that we should be worried about, and it is something that Maxime Bernier, I think, should keep an eye on if he's going to make policy on a federal level, as he said he is, right? Federal level. That's what this is all about. So I'm happy. I'm happy with Maxime Bernier. I'm happy with what he's trying to do, and I'm happy with what he stands for. And I hope we get conservative, is what I hope. And I hope that Canada is able to figure it out. Because if it's not, if Trudeau stays in Parliament, Canada's going down the tubes fast. With all this talk about Alberta separating, if Alberta separates, BC eventually separates because it will have no land connection. It won't be able to get its goods from the ocean, so it'll have to separate. And that means all its trade is going to be coming from the United States. That means Albertans will be American citizens. Maybe that'll work well for Alberta and America in the short term and in the extremely long term. Here's the thing about destruction. Destruction creates. And so if you want to create great things, you have to destroy what's already there. But during which there's a lot of pain and suffering. And so you have to make sure that all that pain and suffering is worth the destruction. What I'm bringing up is the destruction of Canada as a country. Because if what I touched on there were to happen, you would get BC to follow suit. And you would see Saskatchewan follow suit. Then Manitoba's on the fence because they're so close to Ontario and Ottawa. Ontario will hold off because it could probably become its own country with Parliament being in Ottawa. And the East will stay with Ontario. So Canada will essentially break in half. America will be taking on Canada's problems, and I can guarantee you they won't be very happy about it. When Canada became its own country, what initially happened before Canada became its own country is that the Native community made a deal with Britain. It was a land agreement act for the First Nations, and Canada said to Britain about 100 years later, we want to be our own country. And Britain was having a real hard time with this First Nations Land Agreement Act because the First Nations in America, you killed them. And that sucks to kill people. We conquered them in Canada, but we didn't conquer them. We had the force and we pushed them in a position that they didn't want to be in. They were forced into that position. So the natives never wanted to be a part of Canada as a country. Because of that, their deal with Britain got pushed into our lap as a country. Britain said, you want to be a country? Great. You got the First Nations. This is something that Britain started. And they dusted their hands off and they said, it's your problem. Now it is our problem because the First Nations are ugly at the Canadian government. And the Canadian government is too poor to keep up with what they're ugly at. And if they were defeated like they were in America, they wouldn't have any right to be ugly because in America, your natives might not like their situation, but they certainly don't riot the way our natives do. Our natives have their own special sanctuary cities, you might call them, where their own laws are all that matters. We can't go into native communities, for example, and tell them that what they're doing is immoral or illegal. For example, they have elected chiefs who have decided that the pipeline going out west is necessary. And so they're trying, they've spent money, they've signed documents, and now they're trying to push this pipeline. Because in turn, they will make a lot of money after it's done. That's why they're doing this. Now, the old chiefs from the native community, I mean the old, it starts with H, hierarchical, I think they call them. The ones that basically, the elders, the ones that would, instead of being elected chiefs, they would have been just aged in, you know? And keep in mind, the native community wants a democracy. This is what they've been working towards for a long time. It's the elders, the ones that are aged into being chiefs, those are the ones that don't want a democracy because it means that people can vote them out, and they don't want people to vote them out. So this is a power struggle in the native community to get democracy. It's like a little country in a country, essentially. It's very important that they find a democracy. They might not agree with me, and I don't care. But it is very important because you can see what's happening now. These unelected officials, not your unelected officials, meaning the Canadian community, or the First Nations community, elected their own officials to represent them. You, unelected by the community, are trying to go over everybody's head and saying, no, 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 what we say matters. And you got to understand, you're a part of the elected community. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to debate or vote, or it's a democracy. Come on, people. You're supposed to work together to come to a consensus, but you don't want to, because that's not how natives did it. You weren't conquered. You weren't forced into the system. And what we should have done is when we made the deal with Britain, we should have made the deal and also said, by the way, before we make this deal, you guys the First Nations are yours. Like, they're not leaving this country. This is their home, but whatever problems they're having, you got to deal with them. All right? All the First Nations land aren't Canada. That's Britain. And you got to deal with that. So Britain should have been responsible for these First Nations problems we're dealing with. Instead, we are held responsible for them. That's not fair. It's quite frankly not fair. And I don't think it's by accident, I think Britain did that on purpose. So if you're wondering why we are in the position that we are with our native community, where they're protesting themselves, they're eating their own kind, it's because natives aren't peace-loving folks. They never were. They were conquered, war-hungry. They got high in order to find their spirit animal and talk to their grandfathers. This was a part of their growing experience. Every one of them did this. They're party animals that killed each other. Scalping, we used to think that white people brought scalping to natives, but the truth is, before white people ever came to North America, we found mass graves that date back to 1300s, where people were scalped and thrown into the holes. People from different, like, one native group would go and kill a whole bunch of other tribes in an area, and then they dump them into a mass grave. Women, children, everybody. And I'm not saying native people are disgusting. There's a lot of atrocious things that we have done as well. But the problem is that a lie is being told that we brought sin to native people. We brought alcoholism. We brought violence. We brought war to them. When the truth is, they had war themselves. They just didn't have as many people as we do. They couldn't kill as many people as we can because they didn't have as many people to do the killing, or to be killed for that matter. We would have, how many white people have died in wars at white people's hands would have been a mass extermination to all First Nations in North America 10 times over. They don't have our numbers. That's why they're more peaceful than us. Not because they want to be, but because there's not enough of them for them to kill. So you see the disconnect there? Well, we carry on about how special natives are and how evil white people are. We're evil because natives are special. That's how you can prove they're special, is because we're evil. The entire thing is backwards. It's a disconnect, right? So that's why I'm doing these videos, is to get around that disconnect. This one went a little long. I usually try to keep these underneath 20. Maybe I sometimes get around 24 minutes. I'm at 28. It's probably going to push into a half an hour. I just want people to know what's going on, man. Because there's more to it. There's more to it. You guys are all standing up on your soapboxes and protesting, and you should be a part of this. But you should understand what it is you're doing, right? Don't destroy something you don't want to destroy, right? Anyway, thanks for watching my video. This has been a Canadian moment. And if I said something that made sense, give me a thumbs up. If it's too much, like if you're like, man, you said so much crap, but that one thing that made sense, tell me in the description. Give me that thumbs down if you want, but tell me the description. First off, where you think I'm off, and secondly, where you think I'm on. The where you think I'm on is important because when people jump into the comments, they want to see both. They want to see, what do people think of this guy is what they're looking for. Do they just think that this guy's an idiot or a jerk? Or is there something to what he's saying? If I am just an idiot or a jerk, I should get that from people. But I think there is something to what I'm saying. So if there is, please mention it. Please give that thumbs up. This is your only voice. I don't know how else. As far as I can tell, this is why I'm on here. It's my only voice. So if this is our only voice, well, let's speak it, man. It's our soapbox. Let's get up on it and speak it. These rich people created a platform for us to tell them what we think. Let's tell them. Anyway, thank you for watching. And keep your stick on the ice.